Supernatural Season 11, Episode 17, Red Meat. I gotta say, I certainly love this episode. Of course, it was another filler episode, so I know a lot of people are kind of iffy about it, but I think this is probably a good second filler, coming off of the last one, which was a really great filler that I think was universally loved by everybody. I think this one has the potential. I could see people being annoyed because it's two in a row. But for me, despite them having done that, which I complained about in the last season, that was a really big deal last season. I think this time it's not even close to what it was in the last season. I feel like they had a ton more fillers um, during season 10. But I really liked this one. I thought this was a great filler. It was really great starting off at the very beginning because it was like, oh, they had it for the promo and stuff, and it's like, all right, well, we have certain things happening here. We have certain characters coming into play. And they start right off from the very beginning, seemingly killing off Dean. I was like, okay, I thought for sure that this was going to be, at the end of the episode. And of course, it was one of the ones where they flash back in time. So it's like, all right, well, they do it that way, and then he gets shot at the end of the episode, and then it's kind of like, of course, he's not actually going to die. But then they kind of played around with it in a much more entertaining way, because instead of it being like, oh, this is the end of the episode where he gets shot and we see what happens next, they actually start there and they jump back, but then they jump back and forth through time, which made it infinitely more entertaining than, oh, it's leading up to Sam being shot, which of course he's not going to die. But the way they did it made it so much better, and it's like he gets shot, and then after that we actually go back to it and we see what's happening, and we have these characters, they save two people, of course they do the mission, kill the wolves off, and they go through. And it was just really entertaining because, of course, when they had the scene where the guy is choking Sam, clearly, which I thought was really funny because at first he's trying to kill him and he's just covering his mouth. And I didn't even notice that when he first did. And then I was thinking, like, he just covered his mouth and that was it. And then he's like, oh, crap, like, I want to actually kill this guy. And he finally puts his hand on his nose. But during that scene, I was like, okay, of course, they can't kill off Sam. And then he seemingly died, and I was like, I don't know what's happening now because he kind of passes out, which at the time I thought he was dead, and I was kind of freaking out because I thought they were doing something which I'm sure they've done it. There's always 11 seasons. I don't ever want to say they've never done it, but very rarely, if at all, they don't do it where one of the boys die and we don't see anything that's happening. And that's what I thought was going on in this episode. I'm like, did he die and now he's kind of doing his own little battle on the other side, trying to fight against being dead, or what's happening here? And I was freaking out a little because I was like, I don't know what's going on, because he passes out, which of course I thought he was dead, and we don't see anything. It's like Dean just has to keep going, and I'm like, who is he talking to on the other side? What is happening? I don't understand. And then of course when Dean takes the pills, because of course he wants to save Sam, which that's just how it's gonna be, Sam wakes up, and as soon as he did, it took me a second. I was like, I don't understand what happened. But then I actually realized, before they actually explained it, I realized like he had to have passed out before he died from all that pain, because he was shot in the stomach. He was still bleeding out when that was happening. So it's like, it makes sense that it would seem like he died and he would just flat out pass out. They say it later, he was actually in complete shock. I just assumed he passed out because he was just putting too much stress on his body. So it was just like, cut all that off, which I guess that is what shock is a little bit. So we find out that he actually passed out, and fortunately for Dean, of course, he was saved. He didn't have to, encounter his final Reaper. So we'll be seeing her come back. I forgot her name, of course. I completely forgot it, but we'll be seeing her come back when she may or may not officially have her chance. I don't know what they're going to be doing with her character, because we haven't had a Reaper this important in quite a while. So I don't, especially with the way she wants to do things, I don't know where they're going to be taking her character. So, it was just a really great episode. I actually really loved the way that they did that. The flashbacks and flash forwards I thought were pretty cool. The case itself was really, like, background stuff. Ultimately, it was really what the heck is going on with Sam, and then Dean trying to save him. And, of course, this guy who I hated, as soon as he tried to kill Sam, I was like, well, I don't care what happens to him. Kind of his transition, because even in the beginning, it's like, his girlfriend was talking to him, like, oh, you're a wound. He's like, oh, it's just a couple of scratches. And I was like, as soon as he said that, I was like, he's going to be a werewolf. Like, that was automatic. And then they actually show he had a full-on bite mark when he was choking Sam. I was like, he's gonna, of course, turn, and of course he does. And I was surprised how they kind of did it, because I thought for sure that his girlfriend was gonna say something to Dean, like especially when she first went to see him. I thought she'd say something because obviously she was very upset with him. And then it doesn't really come out until towards the end of the episode, and that's when Dean explains Sam went into shock and everything like that. But I liked how all that stuff played out, because we have Sam, who's seemingly dead to Dean, and he's just like, especially when they actually get the ranger, or I'm not sure if he was a ranger or as a cop. I guess he was just a flat out cop. But he gets his attention. He's like, "You get them to safety. I have to go back." And I felt like he should have just said, "My brother's in the forest." I felt like he could have at least just done that and been like, "I have to go get him." But instead, he's like, "I don't have time for this," and he just kept doing it. And of course, he punches the cop and he gets tased and he wakes up. I was surprised he wasn't in handcuffs like when he woke up in the bed, because they do that all the time, unless I missed it. But he of course wakes up, is like, my brother's gone, I have to find some way to get him back. I don't know why he thought that would work either. Like, I mean, they don't, they're Reapers. It's like, she said what she was gonna say, and I guess, he didn't hear it from the source. I don't know, maybe that was his reasoning. But of course that doesn't work. Fortunately, he does end up getting saved. But I just like the way it played out. I thought it was actually fairly fast paced for an episode. I really enjoyed that. I don't need the slow paced stuff. Basically, I think they did maybe 2 scenes really that were about the mission, and it was when they first do like the little flashback section, and then when they go to the bar for the first time, and then after that it's nothing. Everything else is them having solved the case, and then dealing with kind of the aftermath of that. Also, a moment for Sam as well. He's got a bullet wound. He just woke up from shock, and so he actually survives the other 2 werewolves that come in that they were talking to at the bar, or at least the woman that they were talking to and the bouncer. And I was like, man, that was really awesome. Like, he tricked the first guy, killed him, and who knows what happened with the woman. Like, it was just like something happened and he makes it. So I just loved that. I was like, that was really awesome. He's super wounded. I mean, he's been basically just sitting in blood, and kind of it's just spilling out of him pretty much. And he did all that. He gets in the car. He's the one who saves Dean at the end as well. I was like, this is just awesome. Like, this was a really great thing. And also kind of ironic at the end. Like, the whole thing that was happening is like, Sam died, I have to kill myself to save Sam, and all this stuff is happening. He's brought back, and then he's about to actually die, and then all that happens, and then Sam actually makes it in time, and he shoots the guy in the back and kills him. I was like, wow, Sam went through a lot in this episode. He almost died, comes back, almost dies again because of the werewolves, and then he saves Dean from almost dying for the second time as well. So certainly enjoyed that. I really thought this was a nice, very fast-paced episode, very dark. Loved everything, even after we found out Sam was alive. I loved that, but leading up to that reveal, I was just like, I don't know if he's... I just assumed he was dead. I figured, like, he's dead, and I figured he'd come back. I was just trying to figure out, how is it going to happen, and who is he talking to on the other side, and what the heck is happening, because they aren't showing us anything, and they always do. And right when Dean takes the pills and everything, they of course show him watching himself. And it was just like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know what's happening to Sam, and it was freaking me out until we finally got to see him kind of, jump awake. But I love that. I thought that was a great way to play it. It was a great twist on, like any series where it's like, oh, the character gets shot, and then they flash back, and it's like, of course, that's the end of the episode, and then they survive. It was a great turn on that, where they jump back, but then they do jump forward again, and it goes back and forth, and we actually see what happens. It's not like the last 5 minutes Sam is shot, because even if the episode went off after he was shot, I'd be a little disappointed. I'd be like, we know he's just going to come back in the next episode. But seeing it play out the way that it did, and I guess if they did that for the next episode as well, it would have been totally fine. I would have been a little disappointed unknowingly, but just the way it all played out, I think it was a great way to show. Because, of course, if they did it... I mean, even if they did it in order, it would have been very cool as well. But they have the opening where they're just fighting werewolves and stuff, which was a great start to the action, which I thought was cool, because they don't do that. I know they've done it before, but that I know they do very rarely. So it was nice. They just start off the episode fighting werewolves. it seemed like Sam was winning and Dean was, as usual, being the one that's punched a bunch. But ultimately, they take them both down. And it was really funny. I was thinking through this whole episode, like, how is it that out of all these werewolves, they never get bit? That just doesn't happen. They never get bit by werewolves. And if I'm remembering right, in this, the scratches don't really do anything. You have to actually be, bit. But it's just, I was just thinking about that when they were fighting, because like even when the guy was choking him, he has full on claws with blood and everything. I'm like, just no scratches whatsoever, nothing happening here. Of course, unless they take just a normal punch, they barely ever seem to get scratched, aside from, like the one episode when Dean was bit, and that was because Sam didn't have a soul, and he was like, I'm just going to do that and track him. So that's really it. They never seem to get bit or anything like that, which I think would be the easiest solution. Is like, well, just hold them down and I'll bite them. Like, we don't need to kill them, just turn them, and then they're hunters. They'll either kill themselves off, or they'll take off to find a cure. So it's like, either way, we kind of win. But nobody ever seems to think of that. But I really enjoyed this one. They do refer to the fact that they refer to like the alpha bloodline stuff, which I thought was cool because we haven't had that for quite a while, as at least not as like a really big thing. So it was cool to at least have that little mention. It's like, I thought werewolves needed to turn at the full moon, and it's like, well, they're probably pure bloods, not alphas, but pure breeds. So I was like, that's actually cool that they kind of brought that stuff back, and that ultimately leads to the alpha stuff as well, ultimately. But I liked it. I thought it was a nice, fast-paced episode. The slow parts were still really good because, like, technically the portion where Sam is, sent in the shock, that was a bit of a slow portion. It was like, all right, they took off from the main cabin. They're on the run. They hunker down in like this random second cabin. I don't know. And Dean goes out, for wood. And they have their normal thing where Sam's like, you guys should take off. And Dean's like, we're not going to take off. It's like, okay, don't take off. Normal, supernatural Winchester stuff. And then we have that crazy moment, and it was really quick. It was like we had a little clip of Dean getting the firewood. He sees the car. Then it cuts to the guy choking out Sam, and then of course he lies, and so they're on the run, and it's fast paced again, and then it's slow paced, barely. When he gets the people to safety, and then he instantly gets knocked out. So it was a very fast paced episode. At least I felt that it certainly was, because it was always like something's happening, and also I guess the tension for me, until that reveal that Sam was in shock. Until that moment, it was just tension all the way through because I was so confused. Like, if he's actually dead, why aren't they showing us what's happening on the other side? Is he trying to get out of this? Can he get out of this? How is he really going to get back? So I think it was a great way to kind of play on that idea of a character, kind of dying off, and then of course they survive at the end. But it was just surprising because of course with them, they do die all the time. So I don't think we've ever had a moment, I think this I can say for sure, we've never had a moment where we thought they died and they didn't die. It was like, oh, they went into shock, or he was like in a mini coma pretty much. I don't think, once again I could be wrong, so I won't say that they've never done it. Even though I was super confident like 2 seconds ago. They rarely do that if they've ever done that before. So I really love the way they played it where, for me it certainly worked. I'm sure for other people it didn't. It was like, of course he's not dead. But I just figured, of course he'll make it. That doesn't mean he's not dead though. And that's where my head was. Like, he could actually be dead because it's supernatural. Despite what was said, they could do something. There's going to be something to bring, one of the Winchesters back. They will always find a way. And I was like, how are they doing that? And, obviously it was on Dean's side of things. How is he going to fix this? And what the F is happening with Sam in general? And then, of course, we find out he's not dead. So I loved it. I thought it was a great way to play on that. Once again, it was a filler, like I said, but really good filler. I'm definitely excited for the next episode, though, because we do get back to the main story. We are fairly close to the end of the season, and I'm excited to see where they take things. Also, this episode had one of my favorite references ever. When I wish I could remember her name right now, but I just can't ever remember her name. But she says, "Say goodbye to Luigi, Mario." I thought that was actually really cool. So, love that reference because I love video games. And just in general, it's always cool seeing her. But I just love the kind of the pacing of this episode, the way they played it out. And, Dean having his little, face-to-face moment because he got like the secondary info from Sam, and now he's really heard it from the source. Like, you guys are kind of screwed. Like, there is no more, you know, second chances. That's it. No extra lives, as she put it. So he heard it himself, and it's like, this is it for you guys. If you die, you die, and I'll make sure that that happens. So now, both the brothers have it. Of course, we had the normal thing with Dean, where it's like he's not saving Sam for anyone but himself. That wasn't any sort of shock to me whatsoever. Although technically he was right, I think, about Sam being the only one to stop Amara. Of course, we've seen that the devil can't do it without the weapons, and technically he could do it if they get one of the hands of God. But it'll probably end up being Sam. It's not. Well, I'd love to see Dean be able to want to do it if he can kind of overwrite the weird sort of magical attraction he has to Amara. I'd actually love to see him be the one that actually take her down. But I feel like it'll be Sam, and then Dean will be the one to end up officially like saving Cass. However they ended up doing that, and it just makes sense. Everyone wants Dean to save Cass, but certainly enjoyed this episode. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And despite this being a filler, and with it having sort of, it technically had a big moment about the main story, depending on what they do with Sam and Dean in the future as far as final deaths and whatnot. I definitely want to know, what do you guys think is going to happen as far as their final moments throughout the rest of this season, because I'm sure they won't die, but I feel like that might be something that happens. Like, if there's anything, it's going to be the darkness and the devil that could take out Sam and Dean. So all they're doing is going towards the danger, because that's the only way for them to defeat it. But I feel like one of them might actually die this season. I don't know how they're going to play it, where they bring them back somehow, but I feel like they might do it. Of course, we have another season, so they can kind of set things in motion and set up some plans to keep going. But I don't know. I feel like we're gonna get another death, like an actual death, this season. Maybe it'll be the finale, maybe it'll be a little bit before, and maybe, who knows, we might have an episode where Dean dies and the whole finale is just Sam and Cass, maybe. Who knows? Which would be insane. I would love to see that, actually, just because of how crazy it would be for them. Or maybe if Sam was the one that was gone, because Dean technically already died. He was the last one to die, so I guess it's Sam's turn at this point. Just, they're back and forth and whatnot. But definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode, and what you think might cause Sam and Dean to die for the, it won't be the final time, but the next time they die. And of course, if you guys think it'll even happen in this season, because I feel like that's something they've really built up, and I feel like they're going to pay it off in a really odd way. One of them, I feel, is going to go, but of course, it's not going to be permanent, just semi-permanent, maybe finale, and then like 3 or 4 episodes, in the next season. It won't be like a super long time, but definitely want to know what you guys thought about this one, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.